Press the live. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I would like to introduce you to Kim A. Page. She's a communication trainer, TEDx speaker, and author. Since the pandemic, Kim has been supporting clients to boost their impact through the screen as speakers and meeting hosts, as well as getting them ready for video creation. Kim is also a creator of the Zoominar series, The Right Kind of Loud. Over to you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Natasha, and hello everybody, and welcome to our little session about how to manage our meetings. And good on you for hanging in. It's been a long and interesting day. I've been listening in on and off, and I've been very charmed by so many different speakers, and I'm in awe of the level and the input and the humanity more than anything. It's what sticks with me. And maybe not so, I'm talking a little bit like this because I also want to share my screen. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Maybe that's not a coincidence because of course I am here to help us humanize communication and humanize our meetings. So mastering meetings online is my last topic for the day. And for all of you out there who are listening, I'm imagining you are sitting with some amazing insights, tools, experiences, lots of stakeholders, lots of colleagues, and what can we do to make the best of our meetings so that we really get engaged with each other. So I plan to speak for about 15 minutes, and then we'll have about 15 minutes for your questions. So please already now, you're very welcome to start scanning and to pick up what is it that comes up for me when I log off a meeting and I'm totally zoomed out or Zoombified, as we say, or what is it that I need, or what am I noticing in the different stakeholder meetings that I have that could be improved or that I just want to know more about. And so a little bit about my background and how come I'm part of this fantastic lineup today. So I focus on helping my clients really increase their impact and influence. And as Natasha just read, of course, since the pandemic started, that means that I help my clients engage online. And very often I help them with hosting sessions and hosting meetings and preparing conferences and these kind of things. And I've selected my toolbox in a book called The Right Kind of Loud that I'm just going to show you here. Fantastic. And so this is a great communication book. Only one thing, there's no chapter about how to do it virtually yet, because that was written a few years before the pandemic starts. So I'm now working on, of course, next part, which is about how to connect virtually. So with that said, I'm just going to show one image and then I'm going to take the images away for a while. And this is a sweet and a hardcore image because this is our reality right now. We're living in the attention economy, and I always use myself as instrument to know what's going on. And I'm noticing that I'm forgetting things. My clients are forgetting things. We need reminders many times. We need, our dear Natasha, who was part of organizing today, she's been amazing. I don't know how many times she sent all the different links to all our different speakers because we are in the attention economy, ladies and gentlemen. And in the image, you can see that even the baby has a screen and the little doggy has a screen. So this is what we're up against. And so the first thing I want to talk about, I'm actually just going to keep the slides. If you have the modern versions of Zoom, I've been in the audience many times when that has worked, when you can actually, next to the right, when you have the slides, they fill the big screen, and then on the right, you have a stripe of videos, and my face is probably one of those. And there's actually two stripes on the left of that video stripe, and you can actually stretch with your cursor, and you can make the slide smaller and the video image bigger if you would like to. So I'm going to let you regulate, and I'll take off the slides when we do the Q&A instead. So first thing for us to make our meetings practical, hands-on, engaging, we need to show up. And as I say in my book, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I've used it a lot since the pandemic started, and it says, multitasking is possible, multi-focus is not. And so a lot of us are trying to do a lot of things at the same time. And if we want others to be engaged, We need to be engaged ourselves. It's like our meeting members, our audience members, they are going to come along where we are. I've been helping professionals with their pitches and their presentations for many years in 3 different continents. And very often it starts out with, I really want the audience to be excited. And then I said, okay, good. So are you excited? Well, usually there's a lot of butterflies, and the butterflies can easily be part of our excitement engine. But anyway, so let's look at how we show up when we are online. Here's my screen checklist. So the first of it is position and light. So right now I have a laptop. Some of you have computers, some of you have laptops. I have lifted my laptop so that it's on a little stand and I'm looking straight at you. And if you've heard this before, please forgive, it's just the basics. When I see people show up at meetings, I realize that this still needs to be preached. So position important, because if I now would have the laptop on the table, I would actually be showing my nostrils. That's not so nice. So get it up on some books. And then the light. The light is super important, ladies and gentlemen. When we are we're leaving a 3-dimensional connection to a 2-dimensional connection, there's a lot of loss for us. There's a lot of things we are missing. We're missing being together. We're missing the chit chat. We're missing seeing what kind of jeans or pants people are wearing. And when we're going from a 3-dimensional to a 2-dimensional reality, we really want to connect. And so our eyes and our visual sense is being sharpened. It's like our eyes are searching over the screen. Is she here? Is she there? Are they there? And so be generous, show up and give them a visual. It matters how we show up, even if it's your colleagues. Make yourself look nice and make sure you have a light. So I'm going to show you right now what happens if I take off the light. And what happens now is this. This is me in my home office. You can see I have some beautiful small Christmassy little lamps here around my book and everything. And I bought a ring light, and that does this. And so this little ring light, you can buy it easily online. And if you want to have some fun with this, I'm sure some of you already know it. Rate My Skype Room, the room rater on Twitter. It has become quite a thing in the US. Everybody's referring to it. So they are rating people's backgrounds, and they do it in such a fun way. And when you've looked at some room rater posts, you get it. And you realize I need to stage myself. And I think a couple of tips. Make your space 3-dimensional. Don't use virtual background, because again, then it goes from 3-dimensional to 2 dimensions again. Make it 3-dimensional. I have a bookcase, I have some glass, I have some plants, I have some lights, I have my book, I have some earrings, I have strong colors. All of this is, I'm staging this because, wow, I'm going to engage with the lovely audience of the Legal Tech Summit today. And that gives you a signal. And then secondly, body language, speed, voice, eye contact. When we are nervous, when we have butterflies, we speed up, and that's okay. It's not very good when you want to signal leadership. And as a speaker, you're automatically in the leadership position. So I have a tool that I call the sacred pause. Try, if you can, to speed down. Make sure you breathe in between. Make sure that your eyes are looking calmly forwards. I'm right now actually looking kind of on the stripes on the side. Sometimes I'm looking straight in the camera. It depends. But a tip about eye contact, you don't need to look straight into that little green camera the whole time, or the red, or whatever color it is, as long as you look calmly. And then we have comfort, warmth, and generosity. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm watching this. Of course, we're all watching and observing what is happening right now in the professional sphere, in the legal world, in the tech world, and in the other areas and markets. And I can see right now there's 2 kinds of speakers out there, the winners and the losers. The winners are the ones who are able to really show up and be themselves and be warm and generous. Because again, we are craving the connection. The losers are the ones who are trying to hold on desperately to a formality and a strictness and a hierarchy. Well, guess what? Maybe when you were at that big conference, you had a big entourage, you had like the stairs up to the stage, You had a line of people waiting for your book to be signed by you afterwards. You had all these signs to show the world that you were high status. Today, my friend, you're one square among all the other squares. So in a way, it's a democratization of reaching each other. We're all equal in that square. So unless you're really good at finding something that's welcoming, something that's warm, you won't be very successful. And the way to find that warmth is a couple of things I'm going to give you. The next things are tune into those. Be flexible, have tech elastics. So tech issues happens to everyone, and it is uncomfortable, and there's no real way to prepare. I mean, so many events I start out with, we've done the rehearsal, we tried, we practiced, something happens. So just have that readiness of being elastic. I find the best way to handle that is to include the audience into what's happened. So, oops, okay, so I don't know, so let me figure this out, and just kind of keep small talking with them so that they know that you're aware of that they are there. That's a good thing. The worst kind of scenario is to kind of have a breakdown and pretend they're not there and then start speaking, because that's almost comical. And I've seen that several times. Self-kindness, ladies and gentlemen. One of the participants in my Zoominars said, perfection is so 2019. And that is very good to remember when we're hosting meetings, when we're showing up. So this is a little bit about our showing up. And then I want to give you some tips of online do's and don'ts. And this is when you're hosting and inviting people into your meeting space. So in a face-to-face or real life meeting, as they're called now, IRL, it's okay if you sit around a table to be a little flexible, because you can see who wants to speak next. There's a body language signal, we can see each other. In an online meeting, those cues are disappeared because, again, we're only the screens. So when you are the moderator, be very clear, take the lead. Don't say who wants to talk. Ask, Oscar, what do you want to say? Helena, what's your opinion? Take the lead. And then the best practice that I see in action, both in my own sessions and other sessions, is to start with a check-in. If you have a group that's small enough, try to see if you can make a check-in where everybody says something. You can use different kinds. It can be just name and where you're calling from, or it can be name and what you have for breakfast, or something. Because when people have checked in and their voices are in the online space, first of all, the group gets established. We know who we are, and it's going to be so much easier to get them to engage later. If you have a group that's over 20 or whatever amount you find fits your particular session, then you can do the check-in in the chat box. So, but always have a check-in. And then again, be aware of there's going to be some glitches and some silences and some strange moments. I call it mindful waiting. There's always those first moments when people are landing. Every time I host my Zoominar sessions, there's always the first 5 minutes or so people keep landing in. I start, but I'm also mindful and wishing people welcome, and sometimes there's a glitch there. So just be prepared. One of the law firms I coached and had some sessions, both in this and in other things, for one of the global law firms this summer. And one of their questions, like their big concerns, was, what do we do with the silence? I was like, well, you prepared, but that was a big threat for them. So I know that this can be stressful. So again, it's all about finding that comfort and that presence that allows you to engage with your whole self. And then the next is about handling questions. Be mindful also of, if you have an international group of participants, there's different codes of how much people speak or how long they wait or how much they speak. So again, I recommend again that you take the lead. If you send people to breakout rooms, which I do often, which is a great tool because then they get to have their dialogues or group conversations in smaller groups. Then I write down the list of who's been together with who, and I select already who I want to have speaking. And if you say that you're excited and you say, I'm really excited about this, guess what? The face speaks and the words don't count. So if you're excited, I'm really excited. And if it's a concern, yeah, this is actually serious. Bring up the emotions into your face if it's comfortable. One way of doing it is to imagine that you're speaking to a child. That takes out that parental, I'm going to tell you how it is. We want to see it, we want to feel it. And again, I've been in very many groups that have these quizzes and games and things. Be mindful of your audience. If you say it is international, you cannot have a quiz that is based on you being brought up in the UK, right? It needs to have references that includes. So if you have a session with Asians and Europeans, then you need to have some Asian something in there. I've already said it before that there's less divide between the professional and personal. So again, the winners are the ones who are able to be generous and to be real and to invite people in. And the last comment here is, I would of course love to stay engaged with you, all of you. And of course, I hope that you will sign up and join the LegalTech, the Legal Tech Innovation Certificate. And there I'll be teaching both more about this. We will have a session around how to handle online meetings, and I will also be helping with the pitches. So I have two functions, and I hope I will see you there. And in the meantime, you're very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. You find me as Kim A. Page, and on LinkedIn you will see I post videos with different tools about how to communicate online. And I also you will also see the invites for my Zoominars. If you want to join my Zoominars, you're of course also welcome to send me a message on LinkedIn, and you will be invited all right away. The next Zoominar is this Friday on, yes, Friday the 11th, and the topic is the human voice, the voice as a communication tool. So with this, I am now going to stop sharing. And if you want to see my full face, you can do the speaker view up in the right corner. If you want to see gallery, you can do that. And Natasha, I'm hoping that we have some questions.
Yes, we do. So a lot of communication is non-verbal. How would you recommend getting that across, like the non-verbal communication on videos?
So the field of nonverbal communication is very big. And as I just demonstrated, if there's a conflict between the verbal and the nonverbal is going to win. We learned this when we were very small. My mom says, "I'm not angry." Oh, mommy's very angry. So we learn it very early on. We are scanning nonverbal signals from the get-go. That's, of course, the first language we have, if you want to call it a language. And that's how we survive from the very get-go. So what many people don't consider is that nonverbal is not body language. Nonverbal is body language and the voice. And the voice is a huge chunk, right? And so I think the question was, how do I communicate? Again, I'm leaning back to what I refer to. Like, the more you are able to bring your full self along and be as you can, the better it is. When it comes to, for example, hand gestures, if you don't normally use your hands, you don't need to. But if you usually do it, you can do it. Right now, I'm actually standing behind my stand-up desk because I am so tired of sitting all the time. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that my lower body does not want to sit anymore because I've been sitting since March. So I'm now doing more and more sessions standing. So that's actually a way. Also, when I'm standing, I can walk back a little bit and I can show you a little bit more of my body. And that can actually be a way to engage as well. And then, of course, if we're talking about how to engage with the voice, well, that's a topic for a whole session by itself. Come to my Zoominar on Friday and we'll explore more about the voice. And there's so much more to say. Thank you.
Just before you run off, we just have one more question. So this is from anonymous attendee. So they're saying they're not great in large meetings. And do you have any tips for someone who suffers from stage fright?
Absolutely. I'm so glad that somebody mentioned that. And first of all, I want to tell you that you are in good company. When I first went on stage, it was as a singer in Berlin in my early 20s, and I had this dress. And I thought that if somebody looks down on my dress, they're going to think it's windy because my legs were shaking so much. I thought the skirt would be moving. So, and I enjoy it today. So obviously there's been a journey, and that's very often the journey that I take my clients on. That's one of the big focus areas. So first of all, I want to say that it is absolutely natural and normal to be scared. And we are not neurologically wired to kind of leave the herd and isolate us and be exposed. It's an odd thing to us. It's not like, just like it is odd to us to stand and look at our face on the screen the whole time. We're not neurologically wired for that either. We are wired to kind of to cozy up together and communicate. That's how our neurons in the brain are working. So first of all, you're not alone. And then secondly, like, it's not like many people say that, oh, he's a born speaker, it's a natural talent. So no, that's a myth. Learning how to handle a big audience is a skill, just like learning how to drive. When I wanted to learn how to drive, I had to take lessons and I was totally nervous and I was not a very good driver in the beginning. Then I got more comfortable. Same with speaking. So it's a skill set that we expand step by step. And there's lots of tools. I mean, this one has lots, that has 7 toolboxes and it has different chapters. So one is sound right, which is about the voice, move right, which is about body language, listen right, which is great for engaging, speak right, etc., etc. So you'll find a lot of tools. It's also about connecting in different cultures. It's on Amazon, The Right Kind of Loud. If you want to practice just to get used to an audience, you can use Toastmasters. And I know that, I mean, I'm imagining that Toastmasters right now are doing online sessions. And of course, if you want to work individually on a deeper journey, you can come to me, or I'm going to launch my online course, The Right Kind of Loud Virtual, in February also. It will be parallel to LegalTech. And that's going to be a process over 2 months where we go in depth and you get individual coaching, you get group assignments, etc. And that's a whole, when you go through all the toolboxes here in a virtual process. So you're very welcome to join there too. And of course, I could talk all night and it's lovely to be here. I'm not going to extend it more, but the most important thing is just to know that it's absolutely normal and everybody can learn it. And it's such a reward when you start engaging, because, you know, you're not only making you happier, you're making all the people who listen to you happier. And audience suffering is a huge epidemic as well. And there's no vaccine for that. There's only training. So that's my answer to that. Do we have any more questions, Natasha?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay, so know how online communication can become a very important skill. Do you think it is harder for a speaker in terms of in-person, in terms? Do you think it is harder?
It's okay. It's taking some time.
Do you think it's harder for a speaker in terms of the in-person communication? At the same time, I feel the audience is in a hidden position, since the people are hidden as long as they don't show themselves. So for them, is it easier somehow?
That was a very discombobulated question, but I'll say some things that I think is going to resonate with the person who posted it. And you tell me afterwards if I answered or not. So what I'm hearing is, how do I handle this fact that, you know, in the real life, I have all the people in the audience, I can read the room, as we say. We speakers or facilitators, we talk a lot about reading the room. You know, you launch something and you read the room and then you gauge and you can improvise and you can adjust. So shifting to become an online speaker is, just like I just said, it's practice, right? The reason I'm here today, and I'm actually I was looking forward to, oh my God, I'm going to be with the legal tech people. I was looking forward all day. The reason I can look forward to that is that I've used hours and hours and hours and hours. And I've hosted, many sessions and been a guest speaker in many places in many different platforms. So what happens when we go from the real room to the screen is, the first thing I noticed, that was my first webinar. I gave my first webinar March 17th. That was exactly when that was actually before even lockdown came to London. I'm in London. And it was a pitching workshop for 80 students on for a United Nations project for gender equality, very inspiring topic. And I did my session for these 80 students and they were all engaged and happy, and then they left and I sat at my desk and I was really miserable. I was like, oh, this is so terrible. I feel so empty. This is so horrible. And I really sat there sulking for quite a while. And then I realized, like, oh, wait. I'm right now comparing with what it feels like to stand in the room with 80 people afterwards, and you have the buzz and everybody comes up to you and you have a coffee and you go, this was also supposed to be in Barcelona. So I would have had a lunch in Las Ramblas in Barcelona, Quilín, all of that. And then I realized, actually, it's the wrong reference. I need to compare this with, I could have sat at home alone by my desk or I could have engaged with 80 people and made them, given some value to them. So first thing is to change the reference in our head, that it's not about, like, many people ask me also, is online going to replace real life? And I say that's pretty much like comparing a banana with a towel. I mean, it's completely different. One of them is never going to replace the other. So first, again, comparing the relevant reference, and then it's a practice. The worst and the most challenging of all formats that I've ever done is when I've been live streaming on various platforms at the same time, or this happened when I gave a talk for Google a few weeks ago. It was quite challenging, in all fairness. We had prepared and rehearsed, of course, it was a webinar for many people, I think 100 or so. And last minute, the person who was going to handle the slide was shifted out, and she said, Kim, can you handle your slides yourself? Which meant that the slides filled the whole screen and I could not see anything else. And that for me is the most challenging, because then really it's just a little green spot and my slides. And right now when I'm talking, I'm seeing Natasha, which is lovely. And I'm seeing I'm seeing the names and a photo of some other from the 40 market teams. So I can't see the audience, but that just gives me a sense of there's somebody there. So it's a practice actually to get comfortable enough in myself so that I can kind of draw on my desire to connect. And then that I have the capacity to imagine that in that little green light there, somebody out there who's totally stressed out, who has multitasking going on, who has all these things, he or she is actually choosing to let go of everything, and he or she is listening to me right now. And so I have that in my body when I speak, like, wow, then I need to give the best that I can and the most welcoming moment that I can, because he or she is struggling just like all of us are. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what we are missing more than anything right now in our professional lives is the connection, it's the relationships, it's the sharing. And so if we can bring that quality into our meetings, and I mean, obviously, when you hopefully join the LegalTech, I'll tell you much more and give you more techniques about how you can do breakout rooms and how you can optimize. I can tell you, I did an online milestone celebration for 150 people who had launched a satellite a few days ago. And it was insanely hard work. And it took lots and lots of hours. And the feedback was that actually they felt that it was deeper connecting than being in the real space. So online has some amazing opportunities if you know how to do it. So I really welcome you to learn more. And I think this has answered the question. So please, Natasha, can you go to the chat box and check? Because I'm very happy to, if there's something that's missing,
no, it is.
Please fill me in, because it was a little bit like this. I kind of just spoke to what I heard. Yes.
Yes, well, it absolutely has answered the question. We do have a few more, but due to time, I'm just going to pick one more question. So when talking actively, should we look at the screen or should we look at the camera?
So, as I said, when I'm speaking right now, I'm looking at Natasha, but she has a face and she's giving me nice signals. So that's so nice. So if I have an interface where I can see faces moving, or which is the luxury, which is almost like seeing somebody else. It's so nice to see somebody. If I have that, that's great. If I have just boxes with initials or names, that's also nice because it gives me an idea. And if I have a chat box, that's also nice because it gives me some kind of connecting thing. So for me, looking at the camera is last resort. I only look straight into the camera if it's the situation where the slide is filling up the whole screen and there's nowhere else to look. However, ladies and gentlemen, very important, molto importante, I don't know what even language that was, but anyway, very important. If you are making videos, you need totally to practice to look straight into the screen. And that is very difficult for an iPhone because the camera is here. And so I do videos, as I said before, I post them and I share. So when I do that, you have to look here. And that takes practice. In the beginning, it was so weird. And I kept looking at the image. And then I saw, okay, so you just, so for videos, absolutely. Then right now I'm looking into the camera. So right now you can see something happens. I'm right there with you. I'm looking like this. Okay. So when I have a session, the engagement is more important for me. And that, I think, makes it relaxed. Nobody's ever said to me, oh, Kim, I don't feel like you engage or look at me when I do that. But for videos, definitely in the right center of the camera.
Do you have time for one more question? I know we're running out of time.
I'm here. We got 5 more minutes as far as I'm concerned. I'm here if there's more questions. Absolutely.
Okay. So, how should you handle a really and true inappropriate expression or comment from a member at a webinar?
I love that question. Well, I mean, what I usually say is the thing that is so lovely about being the speaker is that you have the microphone. And that allows you to be in total power while being nice and graceful, because you can always, you can always just take over and you can do it in a nice way. So to give you an example, when I do my Zoominars, which I hope that some of you will join, of course, by the way, they're freely offered every second Friday for now. They're going to be Wednesdays after New Year's. But anyway, so when I do the check-ins, I ask people to say their names and where they're calling from, and then one more thing. And then a lot of people, not because they're evil, but they just, it's a place where I can talk, and they need to engage with people, so they just talk. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, they're not doing that with me. And I wait for the right moment, and I gracefully say, that's fantastic, that's so interesting, thank you. Or I find a way to do it. A couple of times I've been a little bit intense, and I've actually emailed afterwards and said, I hope you're okay. They're always like, oh, thank you, of course. So the thing is, when you have the microphone, and that translates to when you are the host in an online or a Zoominar, for example, you can mute people. And I know it sounds brutal, but you know what? You, as the leader of the meeting or the leader of the talk, or as the speaker, you have a responsibility. You're in charge of everybody. When somebody's rambling on, for the others, they're like taking hostage. They can't go anywhere. They're waiting for you as a leader to step in. So to start to practice this when somebody's interrupting you in an adequate way or taking over. In the beginning, I'll be honest, it takes practice. It feels a little awkward. And I can tell you, when you are comfortable with it, or when you know that it's necessary and you do it, it feels more violent inside your own body than it feels for the others. And there's always a wave of love from everybody else who's relieved from from whatever it was that they didn't want to hear. They didn't log on or join the meeting to listen to whatever it was. That's not, obviously, I'm now talking about the speaking streams that are not conducive. They're not deepening the meeting. So definitely, and we can also talk about that more at the sessions that we'll have at the LegalTech, but you have the power to do that, and you don't even need to be aggressive. You can be graceful. And I wish for all of you to get the right kind of loud, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. That was